Welcome, y'all. It's Riot. We're back with Weekly Hyperfixations this week, week 12. Um, most things on the docket today involve fiction, which usually I talk about something that's not fiction or a lot of things that are about real people. We have quite a bit less of that this week. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, we have Minecraft Live happened, and the biggest takeaway, as far as I can tell, is you can now find these little dried up ghast things in the Nether, and when you take them back to the overworld and put them in water, they grow into a ghastling, and you can have up to 4 players ride atop a ghastling, which is really interesting. And I like that a lot, honestly, because a lot of lore talk in terms of Minecraft ghasts are often talked about because of the achievements you can get for bringing one to the overworld. And also they are making it so there are vanilla shaders in Minecraft, which basically means you can have those pretty like ray trace type graphics without having to mod your game, is basically what that means, which means it'll be really pretty. They're not like as good as the like BSL shaders and stuff that people use, but better than definitely an improvement and something people have been asking for a while, so that's cool. On a vaguely similar note, I suppose, turns out that YouTube is putting in extra automatic ad slots into people's videos, regardless of whether or not you have manual ones. So the actual thing says, and I'll put this up, I got the actual dialogue box YouTube gives you from Sniff Snifferish. It says, starting May 12th, 2025, to improve your earnings potential, we will add automatic ad slots on top of manual ones on your existing videos. You can choose to continue managing your ad slots manually, but if you don't do anything to stop YouTube from doing that, all of a sudden your ad will go from your video will go from having like between 2 and 4 ads to having like double that. And this was quote retweeting someone who said, I hope I don't sound like a boomer, but am I the only one who's noticed that YouTube ads are getting so excessive? Or so fucking excessive. Why am I getting a minute-long ad every 3 to 4 minutes? And that was their, how and why that was happening. One of our few, real people topics today. Apparently Selena Gomez has just been selling some of her shit on her website for like really, really cheap. Like someone got the ring she got from Benny something. I can't remember. But literally a ring that he got her that was expensive, she sold for like 50 cents. She sold her Wizards of Waverly Place wand for like $4, which is also crazy because didn't they do a reboot? Anyway, so that was very entertaining. We're gonna let's see, what do we got here? I'll go through the other real people related things on here. Somehow do not understand how someone does this, but in an article by Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, he revealed and wrote an article. The Trump administration somehow accidentally added him to a group chat that talked about their plans for an attack on Yemen. I've got a little snippet of the article. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing, I want to say this is pronounced Houthi, question mark, targets across Yemen. I, however, referring to this article was written by the man himself, Jeffrey Goldberg. So I, Jeffrey Goldberg, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapon packages, targets, and timing. Now, of course, he took like a solitary screenshot, and he didn't take a screenshot of any of the actual information, just like other people who were put in that group chat, their responses to it. And then, of course, he left that group chat because if he hadn't, that would put him on record for espionage, probably. But the fact that someone was so careless as to put someone so important in the government accidentally, like, how do you add a journalist to something like this on accident? That doesn't seem right at all. So I'm very glad that he handled it in a professional manner. But yeah, that was a doozy. And then in other news, we've seen some first pictures of the Wuthering Heights movie that Margot Robbie, for some damn reason, is Catherine in. And, of course, I will put up a picture of that. But the biggest takeaways that I personally had were Wuthering Heights, the novel, takes place during the Georgian era, which is before the Victorian era. White wedding dresses did not become a thing until the Victorian era because it was after Victoria. Why is she wearing a white wedding dress? That was not a thing. That simply was not a thing people did. Also, she also is holding quite brightly colored flowers. And, you know, also on top of the fact that she's still blonde despite the character being brunette, which that's a little more semantics. But also she very clearly looks to be at the earliest in her 30s, maybe late 20s. And the character in the book is like 17. So it just doesn't look right in general because of that. But aside from this movie clearly not going to go well because they functionally threw historical accuracy out the window, based on the makeup and the rest of the outfit, the people who are doing the colorization for the film are going to have to go to a Nosferatu level of desaturating the film to make it make sense. Of course, I read Wuthering Heights when I was a teenager. I really want to read it again, actually. I really love that kind of tone of literature. But it just so much about it is off. But it's I don't remember a huge amount of it. I vaguely remember the plot and some of the things that happened towards the end of the book. But my biggest lasting impression that has lasted to this day, aside from like the historical context of the book, is that it felt more macabre, and not in the traditional sense, of course. It just felt like, I guess, a no bullshit fiction. It's not some beautiful paradise utopia. Like, there's none of that. There's literally none of that. They do not... Listen, all the Bronte sisters are good. This is... Hold on. This is a Bronte novel, isn't it? Yes, this is Emily. Emily Bronte. Yeah. It's... I think I just like gothic fiction in general, but like gothic fiction paired with, and I'll put it up again, that picture of Margot Robbie, those two things are not concurrent. Those cannot possibly, you can't possibly make me believe that those are genuinely, with best interest at heart, supposed to be the same thing. So that's fun. So that's kind of blowing up right now on the internet. I think, oh, this is not movie and film related. Someone on Twitter, I'm a big Pokemon enjoyer. We know this. I've talked about it before. I'm a big Pokemon enjoyer. Someone on Twitter was just spouting false Pokemon information for some reason. They were like trying to say that this one character, Lusamine, starves her children, and I'm like, okay. That was in a comic that is non-canonical, first of all, and second of all, the only material for those Pokemon games that is considered canon is the anime and the game. And in both of those, that doesn't even happen. In fact, it's weird that someone's being so uppity about it. Like, there are worse characters in Pokemon, and this is the hill you're dying on? Half of the antagonist group leaders like wanted to like end the world, and you're choosing a lady who didn't really, she also wasn't good at it, and also technically she was not the antagonist team leader. The antagonist team leader was a 35-year-old man without a job. So not quite sure what's going on there. But, you know, honestly, I think that game was the one where Pokemon started going, okay, we're going to have the antagonist group that you do all the Pokemon battles against, and then we're going to have the actual antagonist group that's actually doing something harmful that most of the game you think are the good guys. That's kind of how it's been going since that game. But anyways, I thought it was really funny because why would you be spreading false information about a fictional thing that everyone who enjoys that fiction knows what's the truth about? Like, it's like you're trying to spout false information at a brick wall, I guess. It was really funny because they were getting really uppity about it, and it's not even like a real issue. It's literally about Pokemon. It was really weird. Okay. Oh man. This, and I can't be like super specific with this because I don't know how many of my players watch this. So I'll be vague enough that it's okay to keep watching, basically. But, you know, I'm planning a D&D campaign. I talked a lot about it like a week or two ago, I think. Maybe it was just last week. Yeah, it was literally last week. But saw a lot of memes this week about DMs watching their players get like super attached to an NPC you hand them. And this one really cute Tumblr post that I saw, let me pull it up. I know I have this one. This is from user on Tumblr Bugfork. Now, of course, they could have changed their username since then, but that is what it is at the time of the screenshotted post. I run D&D for a bunch of teenagers at the public library twice a month, and I created a character for them to like. And my teens are so obsessed with this rat that speaks common, so rat that speaks a normal rat that speaks English, that they paid for him to go to college. And about once a week, one of them comes into the library to show me a cute picture of a rat that reminded them of this NPC. And that is what I aspire to do, except a lot of my NPCs, because it's hard for me to settle on character names that I really enjoy. A lot of my characters are themed after, if not directly referencing, Final Fantasy characters. Because, you know, it's not like something I monetize, so I can name them whatever the hell I want. But it's really entertaining because there's some characters where I'm like, there's a good chance they latch onto this one because I know all of my players fairly well, and there's a good chance that some of them will get quite attached. But, you know, it's so hard to tell because you don't even know how much your players are going to interact with this character. Even if you've, like, built up this character, there's a chance they just ignore that person entirely. So kind of got to play it by ear. But I thought that was really fun. What else do we got? Okay, this is another Pokemon thing. Rumor has it. Big emphasis on rumor has it that there are going to be up to 27 new Mega Evolutions in the next game. God, I hope so. I really hope so. Also, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct should be soon. I think it might be in April or May. I just remember that. So that's exciting. Another thing, well, I can talk about that later when we're doing the pyramid. Hold on. One moment, please. Okay. I forgot two other things I wanted to talk about. One of them, I literally found out this morning. Get ready, we're gonna talk about Nicholas Hoult for like the 80th time, it feels like. He is set to star in an MGM Studios movie that is reportedly a bank heist. I love me Oceans 11, 12, however, whatever number. The Oceans movies, that shit's good. I love that stuff. So very exciting. And I did find this via just like the Instagram story of Nicholas Hoult. But that's very exciting. I really like those kinds of movies because it's a bunch of like harebrained scheme kind of sounding stuff most of the time. I very much like James Bond films. That kind of ordeal. That's kind of where I'm at. So whimsical and fun. This is kind of related to the thing I said about D&D NPCs. We're getting into ADHD level of bouncing between topics here. My apologies. On the note of D&D NPCs in that story about that rat NPC, I found this picture that someone else found on Reddit of this rat that had been given a bath. And it's just a picture of the person holding the rat in a towel. And I sent that to one of my good friends who I consistently send pictures of rats. How would I describe this friend? Somewhere between Disney and Barbie princess, but also a little with like a touch of Karen from Mean Girls. Like she's not mean, but like kind of the aesthetic, you know? Very pink, girly, pretty princess type. Okay, that's what this friend is like. I sent her the picture of this rat because I sent her pictures of rats. She made it her lock screen like immediately, and I was like, whoa. So I forget that she understands the bit regardless of what I do. Regardless of how like, regardless of the fact that it's been 2 years at least since I've seen her in person, she still understands the assignment every single time. She always understands the bit. It's perfect. It's absolutely great. I miss her a lot. I miss all my homies back there, to be fair. But she's on the mind because that interaction was this morning. What was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, yeah. And now we're back on Minecraft. Mojang, the company that develops Minecraft, specifically declared that they will not be using generative AI for Minecraft development because the game is about creativity and creating. Hell yeah, dude. Like, the direct quote is about creativity and creating, which they are saying. What they're saying is that, no, obviously we're not going to use generative AI because this is a game that's literally about creating your own ideas. Literally the opposite concept to generative AI. So, like, killer response, man. That was so good. Okay. I think we're just gonna get into the pyramid. Yeah, we're just gonna get into the pyramid. I was gonna start talking about Stray Kids, but I will save it for next week. Well, I guess today is the day of filming is Stray Kids' 7-year debut anniversary. So that's big and important, but I haven't listened to any of the songs they just released, so we will talk about that next week. Okay. We've got a different type of pyramid this week, y'all. Are you ready for this? This week's pyramid is only fiction. There is not a single real person on this list. Most of them are characters. Actually, they're all characters, so there you go. So this is a fiction-only pyramid, okay? Number 1 on the pyramid, we've got Sophia Falcone. She's literally only on this list because I rewatched the entire dinner monologue that she gives, and this monologue needs to be in my repertoire at all times. It's beautiful, and the delivery's excellent. The emotion she holds in her face is excellent. Even just the very subtle, someone tries to speak up and she kind of just, and it shuts them down. Yes, it is beautiful. I literally haven't seen any of the show. This singular scene, this singular monologue, I'm considering it, So Sophia Falcone is on the pyramid only because of that monologue she gives at the dinner table. So, Santani or whatever. Next up on the pyramid is Scott Summers. He's on the pyramid this week. He's on the pyramid this week because I got a lot of X-Men comics this week. I went to a comic book store. Most of them are Nightcrawler related. We'll get to that later. But they put this man through so much. Like, half of any comics I saw at this comic store that had Scott Summers on it, he was like in pain or dying. They just keep hurting this man. And I thought that was silly. Also, I had a moment the other day where I was wearing this very long blue dress I have. Kind of gives Ren Fair vibes. It's this dark blue, long, drapey kind of dress. And I had my hair straightened at the time. And that was what I was wearing before showering so that my hair could be normal again, like this. And I went, this is a kind of Kurt Wagner coded outfit because it's more feels more fantasy, and also I look very different. And then after I got out of the shower, I put on jorts, a generic shirt, and my hair was curly. And I went, I'm dressed like a Boy Scout. And then the second I said the word Boy Scout, I went, oh no, I'm dressed like Scott Summers. Which is really funny. Because that man probably did do Boy Scouts, first of all. But then I had this idea, it'd be really funny if I cosplayed Scott Summers in a satirical way. And I really mean like cosplaying him just to put him in outfits that he would never canonically wear. Because I think it's funny. And I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I had that train of thought the other day. But he's also on the pyramid because I want more X-Men in Marvel Rivals, and he would be a very good candidate for that, I think. So, that's why he's on the pyramid. That's pretty much it. That's why he's on the pyramid. Next up, technically this is not necessarily one character. But been seeing a lot of content for the game R.E.P.O, where you play as these little robots that are trying to make enough money to please the tax man. And they kind of operate like, you know, there's an in-game microphone. You've got proximity chat basically in game, and the mouths of these models kind of move like how Muppets talk, and it's really perfect. Also, whoever coded the eye movement for those models really aced it, like really aced it. Also, you know, you can go from being very tall, full robot size, to being like this little dinky little guy to get under surfaces to hide from things. It's really good. Also, it's sort of a horror game, but it's so unserious that it doesn't feel like it, to the point in which I would be comfortable playing that game, and I hate horror like that. So, the R.E.P.O bots are on the pyramid. And it is a Lethal Company type of game, but it's really fun. Not only is it fun to watch, but it's very, like, it's a really good group game, and the proximity chat really helps with that. It's also, if you can't do in-voice chat, there is a text-to-speech feature, where you can just type in chat. There is a character limit to each, like, sentence you, like, how much you can put in a single chat message. But it reads them out with a little bit of humor, as to not, the text-to-speech can't always pronounce the words correctly, especially if it's a word, like if it's a username. They have some interesting time. It has an interesting time trying to read some usernames, which is really funny. But the R.E.P.O bots are on the pyramid because they're silly and I like them. And this is probably the most entertaining game I've watched someone play in a while. I gotta stop fidgeting with this pen. Next up on the pyramid is Oh Captain, My Captain, Monkey D. Luffy. He's on the pyramid because this dude is so unbothered staying in his lane unless you hurt his friends. But for the most part, unbothered staying in his lane, which is really funny. You'd think there'd be a little more constant gumption out of someone who wants to become king of the pirates, but sometimes dude is just like, where's dinner? Like, but But Monkey D. Luffy's on the pyramid because he's gonna be king of the pirates. I don't know what to tell you, man. Also, we're vaguely getting closer to the live action One Piece season 2 because we're slowly getting more content about it. So, you know how it is. There's more press stuff happening, kind of. So that's exciting. Next up on the pyramid, we have Kurt Wagner, my beloved. Nightcrawler's on the pyramid this week, again, because I bought a bunch of comics and 90% of them are Kurt related or have him on the cover. I spent like $25 and I have like 15 at least, like individual issues. Some of them are from the 90s and the 80s, was it? Or I think most of them are from the 90s actually, which is really cool. A lot of Excalibur specific comics, issues of Excalibur. I even have one where Mystique is holding a Glock to Kurt's head. Super cool. Kurt Wagner is also on the pyramid because he's just a silly little guy. Why wouldn't he be on the pyramid? He's my favorite character, and also conveniently portrayed in the Fox movies, in the earlier Fox movies, talking X2 and all that. He's portrayed by my now favorite actor. So, and I say now favorite, all he did was one up Alfred Molina, to be so for real with you. So that's why he's on the pyramid. Number 1 on the pyramid. This is a really silly pyramid, which I guess naturally it's a more silly pyramid because it's only fictional characters. None of these are real people. Number 1 on the pyramid is the Minecraft Gasling. For a lot of reasons. 1, very cute, very nice. But also it has a lot of like lore implications, and a lot of Minecraft fans tend to look at Minecraft's lore as if it's like some sort of post-apocalyptic situation. So this update kind of makes it feel like every update we've been getting is like the world is healing, which is really cool. And this in particular is definitely addresses something that people who play Minecraft like to talk about. I've had several conversations about the achievements that you get from bringing a ghast to the overworld, killing a ghast in the overworld. Those achievements, people talk about those a fair bit. So, ooh, sorry. I just slammed my ring into the counter. But yeah, I think the Gasling's on the pyramid this week because of how much like lore implication and how well received it's been and all of that. Altogether, just a really good Minecraft Live, surprisingly. So that's why it's on the pyramid. That does cap out our pyramid. We are going to talk about a couple other things. Just a couple other things. So, let me pick up. Marvel Rivals has been putting out new skins very frequently, and there's only, I want to say, like maybe 15 days left in the season or something like that. Last time I checked, it was around 21, and I haven't played in almost a week, so probably about 15 days until the new season is supposedly going to start. We could just go into like a 1.3 or whatever, or a 1 point something. But very interesting how that season, like they're coming out with new skins quite frequently. I talked about last week, I believe, the presidential Loki and the Thor themed Storm skin. And then they announced a steampunk Iron Man skin, and a Spider-Man Spider-Punk 2099 skin. And then literally yesterday they announced a MCU accurate Moon Knight skin and a Black Panther skin. And also I think that's the first one where we've seen T'Challa's face, which is also interesting to me. But getting all of these character skins so frequently and then not hearing a whole lot about the next season or about the memory leak issue that PC players have to deal with. Very interesting. I desperately hope it gets fixed because I can't really play the game with anyone. Because I need to use the microphone and Discord on the computer, but if the memory leak's happening, the game takes up more memory and will cause Discord to crash, so I can't use it. It's a whole issue. So hopefully that gets fixed soon. They've kind of been avoiding that topic, it seems. Which I assume just means they're trying to... It may be hard for them to locate the issue in the first place, because when the game initially came out, I don't think this was as big of an issue as it has become. But, yeah, it's very interesting. Also, on the note of the memory leak issue for PC, supposedly the next Xbox is going to be compatible with Steam, which means that I could just play through Steam on console, which is weird feeling, but you know, if it works, it works. So I don't know. What is the other thing? Hold on, I will. One moment. Okay, I remembered the two other things I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, I did a little roulette wheel spin to determine what Pokemon game on my emulator that I was going to play, just for personal enjoyment. I'm going to be replaying Pokemon Black, which will be very fun. I really like the soundtrack of that game. And naturally I'm going to play that one before I play the second one. Which I never played the second one. So there's also that. But I gotta play the predecessor before I move on to that one. And then the other thing is that it's getting warmer where I live. It has been fairly cold temperatures for most of the month, and then today it was in the 70s Fahrenheit. And so as you can see, I'm wearing a white shirt and overalls. They are shorts. And I went out in the middle of the day to soak up some actual sunlight for once, touch some grass, all that jazz. So that was fun. But also, I had a moment where I was looking at my outfit today and I went, this outfit looks really good on me. And then I realized that as much as I love fall and winter colors, there is a slim chance that I look good in spring colors or summer colors. And I don't own enough of those to be able to tell, but anytime I wear something that's like a pastel blue or white, I really like it, and I'm starting to worry that that means that I need to 180 my wardrobe, because a lot of my clothes are really dark. And like I was looking back through recently all of these photos. I really, as a hobby, I like to go to, like, if I have access to a mall, I will go and try on really fancy, like, homecoming type dresses, like homecoming prom type dresses, just because, which by the way is also really useful because it kind of gives you an idea of lets you know what your size is, also lets you know what does and does not look good on you, so that if you actually need to buy a dress like that, you know what to avoid. But I was looking at some from the last time I did that, and there's one dress that I tried on that was like a pastel blue, and I looked way better than I thought I did. Like, looking back on it, I'm like, why didn't I just buy that dress instead of the one I got? That, because that was a while ago at this point. It was more than a year ago. But it was very entertaining because I was like, you know, I now understand why people go to those people who test to see like what colors you are or whatever. You know, they have like the color things like right here, and they're like, here's warm summer and cool summer, like, you know what I mean? And like gold and silver and whatnot. I know in my heart that I'm probably better with silver because it looks better against my skin tone. But as you can tell from my earrings, I don't care. So there's that. But yeah, I had that realization and went, It's like that TikTok trend that's going on right now where it's like I was trying to be the sun or the moon, but in fact I was the opposite, or like secret third thing or whatever. And I'm 100% being like, oh, I don't think I am the moon type. Like, there's something where I'm like, I don't quite think I'm there, because as much as I like the weather and all of that, I am generally happier when it's sunny. I was born in the spring, like all those things. So yeah, that was just a little personal tangent I wanted to go on before closing out today. So, you know, we shall see where that goes. I really want to go thrifting, so maybe I can purposefully try on things in colors outside of my comfort zone. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As I say pretty much every time, viewership is immense to me because it gives me the motivation to keep doing this. Outside of just the personal want to do this and the personal enjoyment I get out of it. I'm not just talking to a brick wall, you know what I mean? So, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Of course, those things are not mutually exclusive. But you know, every week I come here, I talk about what my brain's kind of been fixating on, and then over time, you can kind of see how that changes, which is cool. And that's kind of the whole MO behind this. So, again, thank you all for watching. I'll see y'all next week, same time, same place, for more weekly hyperfixations. So, I'll see y'all then. Have a good rest of your week. Bye, y'all. Hey guys, it's editing Riot. Today is March 26th, 2025. There's been an Avengers Doomsday cast announcement. There's a lot of X-Men in there. I'm super normal about it. I'm going to refrain from re-recording my entire episode that I had, and instead give you this little clip that I'm probably putting at the end of the video. I'm so normal, and next week will only be about X-Men. There's no way I'm gonna be able to focus on anything else. My apologies in advance. Yeah. Just wanted to come in here and say that. Have a good one, y'all. See you next week to talk about the X-Men.